Okay, so we have looked at the past simple tense. Now we're going to start looking at the present perfect tense, and we're going to compare it with the past simple tense. So let's start by reading the information at the top of the screen. So, as we know, we use the past simple tense to describe past situations that are finished and that happened at a specific time. Okay, we use the present perfect tense to describe unfinished situations that started in the past. So let's look at some examples of both of those. We'll start on the left side of the screen and look at some finished situations described in the past simple tense. Firstly, Mark met his best friend 2 years ago. So this is a finished period of time. The situation is also finished. Rachel moved to London in 2015. So that's a past simple period of time and the situation is finished. I started watching horror movies when I was a kid. Okay, so when I was a kid is a past simple period of time and that situation has finished. We got married 3 months ago. So 3 months ago is in the past, it's finished, and the action got married is finished. So that's what is important. Look at the action. Is the action finished or is it unfinished? In these 4 examples, these are past simple tense, subject plus verb to, all describing situations in the past where the action or the situation is finished. Let's compare those sentences now to situations that are unfinished and that are described in the present perfect tense. So let's find a different color here. Let's have a purple for present perfect. So, unfinished situations. Mark has known his best friend for 2 years. Now compare that to Mark met his friend 2 years ago. So let's look at the verb. Met. That verb is finished. The action has finished. That happened 2 years ago. So we can describe that meet or met in the past simple tense. But the verb in this present perfect sentence is different. This verb is to know someone. So you can know someone, you can start knowing someone 2 years ago, and you can know someone every day up until today. So the verb here is not finished. Mark has known his best friend for 2 years because he started knowing him 2 years ago and he still knows him today. So depending on what verb you want to use, that dictates what tense you're going to use, because some verbs or some actions have finished. Some verbs or actions have not finished. Let's look at the next example of a present perfect sentence. Rachel has lived in London since 2015. So we know that Rachel moved to London in 2015. But that verb, that action, move, that's finished. Live is unfinished. So she started living in London in 2015 and she still lives there today. So it's an unfinished situation. And because it's unfinished, we're using the present perfect tense. Next example, I have watched, let me find a triangle, here we go. I have watched horror movies since I was a kid. Okay, so we know that He started watching horror movies when he was a kid. But that verb is finished. Start has finished. Start can only happen once. You cannot start doing the same thing every day. But you can watch horror movies every day, every week, or for however long you want. So watch, that verb, that action is unfinished because he still watches horror movies today, and he has done for a long time. So start watching horror movies is finished, but watching horror movies is an unfinished situation. The last example, we have been married for 3 months. Okay, so we know, let's say she got married 3 months ago. Got married is finished. You can only get married for 1 day. The next day you finished getting married, you just are married. Okay, so you can get married for 1 day and then it's finished. But you can be married every day. So you can get married 3 months ago, and every day since that day you have been married, and you might be married for the rest of your life. So we have been married for 3 months. So this verb in this situation is be. It's not finished. It's an ongoing, unfinished situation. So that's an example of how you can describe the same type of thing in different tenses, depending on whether the action is finished or unfinished. So a finished action is past simple. An unfinished action or unfinished situation can be present perfect. And the important thing is to look at the verb, look at the action or situation. Is it a finished situation or an unfinished situation? Finally, let's look at the grammar. We know in a past simple positive sentence we have subject verb. Mark met, Rachel moved, I started, we got. Unfinished situations is present perfect, and we use subject, have or has, plus verb 3. Okay, so verb 3 is also known as the past participle, and it's the verb that we use in present perfect sentences. We use verb 3 in positive, negative, and question present perfect sentences. So Mark has known, Rachel has lived, I have watched, we have been. So that's the grammar for a present perfect sentence, which shows us that the situation you are describing is unfinished. Let's just finish here by looking at the pictures of these tenses. So bottom left, this is what past simple looks like. Something that happened in the past and has finished. So Mark met his best friend. Rachel moved to London. I started watching horror movies. We got married. They all look like this. They happened in the past. They're not happening anymore because that action is left in the past. But then let's compare that to present perfect in the bottom right. Okay, so this is something that started in the past and since then has happened and is still happening now and will probably continue to happen into the future. So Mark has known his best friend, started in the past, still knows him now. Rachel has lived in London, so started in the past in 2015 and it's still true today. I have watched horror movies, so that started in the past, still I watch horror movies today. We have been married for 3 months, started in the past and is still true today. So there we can see the difference between a finished situation and an unfinished situation, and we use past simple to talk about finished situations. But if our situation is not finished, if the action or situation is not yet finished, then that's when we use the present perfect tense. This is something that confuses a lot of people. I hope this screen has made it a little bit clearer as to when we use past simple and when we use present perfect. Over the next few slides, we'll do a few tasks to test your understanding.